Hi, Waka, it's Nikki with Yupik. So I've been wanting to make this video for a while and just haven't quite found the right words, or I just wanted to make sure that what I was saying was going to come across um, clearly. So I have been pursuing becoming a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner now. Last year, I was supposed to start my clinicals for my family, but I recognized and I realized that psych is where my heart has always been. And so I switched last fall and to psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And something that I have always wanted to share, and I always share about I've shared about my childhood and like my traumas. Obviously not all of them, but something that I've been so passionate about is like mental health. You know, our brains, they're an organ. They're just like our heart, they're like our lungs, our kidneys, our liver. Like our brain is an organ and we should be treating it that way. And something that I've learned in the last 10 years that I've been doing my own healing journey is that trauma plays a huge role in the way that we develop these patterns of behavior, coping mechanisms, characteristics, qualities that we feel are a part of who we are as people, but really it's our body's way of responding to the trauma. And, not all trauma is traumatic. There's big T trauma and there's little t trauma, and there's also the trauma of our needs not being met. And so something that I'm so passionate about is sharing the first steps in trying to understand yourself is becoming aware and understanding. And one of the questions, I can't remember from what book I've read, but it was at what age did you stop being a child? What age did you have to step into an adult role or a responsible role? And what age was that? The other book that I really have carried with me and I always refer back to is What Happened to You by Oprah and, I forgot his name. It's a child psychologist. What happened to you? And instead of asking the question, why are you behaving that way? Or why are you acting this way? What happened to you for you to behave in that certain way? In understanding how trauma has affected me personally and how it has developed patterns of behavior that kept me safe for so long. So I used to be a people pleaser, always setting aside my own needs for others, not being, not stating what I want, what my needs are, avoiding confrontation because confrontation is uncomfortable. So going against the grain, being an overachiever, being recognized for getting good grades or having, 2 jobs in school and doing sports and, understanding that sort of thing. But also it plays into the impulses and substances. And so where substances come into play, Gabor Mate asked this incredible question. Don't ask why the drinking or why the use of substances. Ask why the pain. Where's the pain? What do substances and what do maybe shopping addiction, gambling addiction, what do those do for you? They provide a moment of this high, of feeling good, and you're always wanting that feeling. So what are you going to always do? You're going to gravitate towards your choice of addiction. And so within myself, I recognized at a young age and that substances are not the way to go. Substances are not a part of who we are as Alaska Natives. They have never been a part of who we are. Mental illnesses have never been a part of who we are as Alaska Natives. You know, we lived off the land for hundreds of years. And when the outsiders, colonizations, the churches, you know, missionaries, when they came in, there was that divide of who we were or who we are and how we have to assimilate into this new sort of westernized way of living. So your language is taken away, your food is taken away, your clothing, your dance, your song, and you're even being taken away from your families. The generational trauma begins. And with generational trauma comes ways to cope. And our traditional systems, we were always in a community. We were always together. And when that sort of shifted to where we were then, you can say, cultural genocide, because your culture was no longer something that was practiced regularly. You were then in these, you were living in another world. And so there is a lot of pain that comes from that. And then also the loss of language, the loss of song and dance, the loss of the traditional ways that we would make things, the way that we would gather. And so it's really important to understand, my cheeks, I'm still not feeling good, but I wanted to make this. It's so important to understand our own family generational trauma, what has been passed down, you know, without even knowing it. And it's really hard throughout my life. I've heard, you know, oh, Alaska Natives are this and oh, they're that. And it's like, no, we're not. We have never been. However, because of the generational trauma, you know, these things have come into play, like substance abuse, substance misuse, and, you know, poor coping mechanisms that have never been a part of our culture, a part of who we are. And so something that I'm so passionate about is sharing that, you know, these patterns that we develop, you know, the neural pathways that are formed at whatever age, and you can reteach them. You can create neural pathways that are healthy. You know, addiction I've seen it in my own family, and I've seen family members struggle, and I've seen family members pass from addiction, and it breaks my heart because I just wish that there were ways with the generational trauma that there was a generational healing. And that's why it's so important for me and for my children that the generational trauma stops with me and the generational healing begins. And so I want to share that because, you know, a lot of us come from homes where it's chaotic and it's broken and it's scary, and there's substance abuse and substance misuse, and there's domestic violence, and there's so much, but there's so much positiveness within our cultures that we can reclaim back who we are and who we always have been. Sorry, I'm hot. I'm still trying to recover. But anyways, I wanted to share that because that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about, like, how beautiful our cultures are, how resilient our cultures are, like, and, you know, how can we get back to the traditional ways while living in a Western world? We're walking in two worlds, but really we're trying to incorporate the two. And so I hope that this message resonates with you. You may not agree with me, and that's okay. But you know, the one thing that I'm just so passionate about is just always being gentle with yourself and always being kind and loving and humble. Just because other people are behaving in certain ways does not mean that we need to get to that level, that we can still remain kind and humble and loving people. And we can always just, you know, hope for the best for everyone who is struggling and hope that they find the care that they need. So anyways, Oyana, Chuck Norris, I hope you guys have a good Monday.